Hello. So, Pacesetters, we now are going to be looking at the Mexican-American War. If you have not watched the Texas War for Independence video, you really should go back and watch that one first. It'll make a whole lot more sense, the Mexican-American War, if you do so. Now, a few questions, just like the previous video, that we want to answer. If you want, take a look at the questions. You can pause the video, but we're going to move on. So, always in the back of our mind, we got to keep this idea of manifest destiny there, that America is constantly attempting to expand and gain more land so that our multiplying millions, that Americans can begin to populate from East Coast to West Coast. So again, manifest destiny, know this term, know what it means. James K. Polk, still the president at this time. He has done what he campaigned on. He has campaigned on this idea of being pro-expansion, and he does. He annexes Texas in 1845, his first year on the job, but he even goes further. A year later, he's going to get into negotiations with Britain, and he's going to sign the Oregon Treaty, which settles this boundary dispute at the 49th degree north latitude mark. And now we know what is British Canada. We know what is eventually Washington and Oregon State. So Polk, doing what he told the American people he would do, expansion. And we see that here. You can take a look at the map, and you notice we have gained the Louisiana Territory. We have gained the Florida Territory through the Adams-Onis Treaty. Annexed Texas. Polk signs the Oregon Treaty. The only piece we're missing here is this Mexican cession, and that is where the Mexican-American War comes into play. You have, after the annexation of Texas, this border dispute that has not gone away. If you recall, Texas and Mexico both think that this territory is theirs. And now that Texas is a state in the United States of America, that disputed territory, that conflict becomes the United States. Texas claims that the Rio Grande River is the border between Mexico and Texas. Mexico and the Mexican government, they believe the Nueces River is actually that physical border. And so again, you have all of this territory that is in question. Polk, being ever the expansionist, he pressures Mexico into buying this territory. And we see that Polk, he goes about it in a few different ways. His first attempt to gain this territory is actually going to be, hey, I'm just going to throw a bunch of money their way and see if they take the offer. And he does that. He offers money. He says, we will settle the dispute right now. I'll give you money, and we will take that disputed territory off your hands. He goes a little further. He actually asks Santa Anna, hey, we will buy the disputed territory. We also, if it's on the table, we'll buy California and what is New Mexico and Arizona from you too. Now, Santa Anna, outraged, doesn't like this offer. He's offended. He doesn't like the fact that Texas gained its independence in the first place, only to then turn around and be annexed by the United States. He doesn't want to cede any more land to the U.S., so he refuses. He says no. And so this is going to force Polk to find a different tactic. And so he does. He has a different strategy. His strategy is, I am going to provoke a Mexican attack. And so what Polk does, he sends General Zachary Taylor to that disputed land, and he says, Taylor, hang out in the disputed territory, make it look like you're doing something suspicious, with the hopes that Mexico does something about it. And they do. Santa Anna, the Mexican army, they are going to ambush Taylor and those American soldiers there. And they are going to kill some of the American soldiers. Now, the rallying cry of Polk and his supporters is, American blood has been spilt on American soil. That can't happen. We need to retaliate. And this is just what Polk wants, because now he is justified in starting a war with Mexico so he can take that westward land. Now, quick side note, Zachary Taylor, he goes on to become the 12th president of the United States. He is nicknamed Old Rough and Ready. He gets his name during the Mexican-American War. He's a war hero. We see this a lot in American history. There are quite a few presidents who go on, who are generals who go on to become president. It's kind of a thing. They gain notoriety during these wars. But quick side note, Zachary Taylor dies in office. He actually, he goes to this holiday party where he has raw fruit and iced milk, a weird combo in my opinion, and he gets this weird stomach bug, and it ends up being dysentery, and he ends up dying. He dies while he's in office, so kind of sad fate for our guy here. But yeah, General Zachary Taylor goes on to become president of the United States. But Polk, there are many in the country who, specifically from the North, who don't like this idea of Polk's tactics. A young, at the time, Abraham Lincoln, a member of the House of Representatives, he actually is going to point out that, hey, that actually isn't American soil. So your argument is false. But those in the North, they're really against Polk's tactics because they feel as though Polk and those in the South are simply trying to grab as much land as possible in order to extend slavery. When it comes down to it, again, this issue of slavery always on the table. They feel as though that Polk is attempting to just gain land so that he can extend slavery even further into this region. Now, always keeping in mind, Americans, manifest destiny, move west, more land. 2 men are going to be charged with heading west and continuing this war with Mexico. Those 2 men, Stephen Kearny, but also John C. Fremont, both men instrumental in kind of California's early republic. So taking a look here at this map, Polk is going to send both men from Kansas, and they are going to come to right here around Bent's Fort. It is here where Kearny is going to be dispatched to Santa Fe. He captures Santa Fe. He then presses on with his army and captures San Diego. Fremont, on the other hand, he goes more north, crosses the Colorado Rocky Mountains, and ends up in kind of the San Francisco area, captures a lot of and defeats a lot of the Mexican forces here. Quick side note, Fremont and his army, they fly this bear flag, simply a bear on a flag. And when they are able to capture a lot of California, they form what is the Bear Flag Republic, or the California Republic. Today, California's state flag has a bear on a green patch of grass with that same red star. They get it from John C. Fremont. But the war continues with Mexico. Polk sends General Winfield Scott south to capture Veracruz. He then tells Scott to march inland to Mexico City. So Scott, with an American army, they march into Mexico City. They capture Santa Ana. They capture Mexico City. The United States wins big. And this is really the end here of the Mexican-American War. It is with this victory that we see the U.S. really achieve manifest destiny. So it is at this point now where we sign the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo with Mexico, which gives the United States what is this Mexican cession here, what is now California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico. A few years later, in order to allow a transcontinental railroad to extend into the west, we also are going to go back to Mexico and say, hey, can we buy this, the southern tips of New Mexico and Arizona from you? And they do. We buy this land from them in 1853. And with that, we really see we have achieved manifest destiny. We buy the Louisiana Purchase from Napoleon Bonaparte. We sign the Adams-Onis Treaty with Spain and gain Florida. We annex Texas. We figure out the border dispute with Britain. We gain the Mexican Cession after the Mexican-American War, and then we buy that final strip there, the Gadsden Purchase, from Mexico. But we've done it. We have achieved westward expansion.